Leading news team with the latest in world news and our nation's top stories. EIV News at 6.
Hello and welcome to EIV News at 6. I'm Meredith Berry. With a presidential debate only 2 weeks away, the candidates battled it out one last time during Monday's debate. Political analyst Kelly Kasoulis is in studio with all the details. Kelly?
Good evening. Monday's debate marked the 2-week countdown to Election Day, and the race is far from over. The ongoing banter between President Obama and Republican candidate Mitt Romney shed just as much light on the economy as it did on foreign policy.
Fortunately, the economy is not stronger. When the president of Iran, Ahmadinejad, says that our debt makes us not a great country, that's a frightening thing.
If we had taken your advice, Governor Romney, about our auto industry, we'd be buying cars from China instead of selling cars to China.
Undecided voters hoping to reach conclusions from Monday's debate may have to look elsewhere for their final answers. And although most polls declared President Obama as the winner Monday, other polls indicate that half of the voters say the foreign policy hasn't changed their choice on the ballot at all. The much anticipated line in the night came from President Obama as tensions arose on topic of military funding.
We also have fewer horses and bayonets because the nature of our military has changed.
Romney fired back with slow economic recovery, and both candidates pounced on these comments by Tuesday, promoting key phrases on Twitter. The debate closed with President Obama claiming to fight for families, while Governor Romney called the U.S. the hope of the earth. Election Day is right around the corner, and now that the debate series has ended, both candidates are turning their attention to battleground states. But who has the advantage and where? EIV senior Washington correspondent Joshua Sackheim reports.
All of the rallies and all of the cheering can't drown out the numbers in this presidential election. The most recent Gallup poll has Romney 7 points ahead of the president. It's the first major lead Romney's taken in a national poll. But the margins of victory in swing states will definitely be tighter.
Back in 2008, let me just explain what happened in Ohio. We won the state by about 262,000 votes. All right? Now that may sound like a lot, but when you break that number down, that's just 24 votes per precinct. You hear me? 24.
The latest poll tracker aggregated numbers have Obama and Romney virtually tied in Ohio, same in Iowa and New Mexico, both anyone's game. Despite how close everything looks, the candidates do have beachheads in certain states. Obama's working off a slight lead in Florida, Romney a slight lead in New Hampshire. But at this point in the race, neither candidate can afford to neglect any state that's up for grabs. Joshua Sackheim, EIV News, Washington, D.C.
November 6th is only 12 days away, and a final surge of ads and appearances from both candidates is expected. But Monday night was the last time the public will ever see Barack Obama and Mitt Romney before America decides its next president. That's all we have for our political update. Now back to you, Meredith.
Violent past revealed. Authorities say the shooter behind Sunday's fatal salon massacre had a long, violent past. Radcliffe Houghton had been issued a 4-year restraining order from his wife just last week. The couple was in the process of divorcing when he opened fire on the salon his soon-to-be ex-wife worked at. 3 women were killed, including his wife, Zena Houghton. Police later found Houghton's body. He died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Sunday's shooting was only a mile from where a 2005 shooting killed 7 people during a Living Church of God service. Police have found the body of the main suspect in an attack on a Southern California family, 55-year-old John Moses. Police say they found Moses in his burnt rental home, wearing body armor and holding a handgun. Moses allegedly opened fire on the Lamas family after blaming them for his eviction. A 4-year-old boy and his father were killed, while 3 other members of the household remain in critical condition. An 8-year-old boy escaped unharmed. Officials say a Brooklyn man is in custody for the murder of his pregnant fiancée. Bride-to-be Vindalee Smith was found dead Saturday with several stab wounds and lacerations on her throat. New York's police say a note left at the crime scene states 1 pregnant woman per month will be murdered until infamous D.C. sniper Lee Boyd Malvoy is set free from prison. Coming up after the break, more shocking news of the meningitis outbreak.
All that and more on EIV News at 6.
From an early snowfall to tropical storms, this week's weather has been anything but predictable. Our weather correspondent Mary-Kate Mannion for a weekly forecast and a look into a possible hurricane.
Thanks, Meredith. While it's a bit late in the season, this week all eyes are on Tropical Storm Sandy. The storm formed in the Western Caribbean late Monday and was upgraded to a hurricane as it passed over Jamaica today. Sandy is expected to dump 6 to 12 inches of rain across parts of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and eastern Cuba. The harsh weather could even spark some mudslides and flash floods. Now, the path of the system as it travels up the East Coast is a bit of a mystery as to what the storm could bring. By Saturday, many models are showing the hurricane off the east coast of the Carolinas and Florida, but the European model specifically shows the storm coming all the way up to New England delayed on Monday, bringing rough seas and possible severe weather. Now, aside from Sandy, there's been a deep dip in the jet stream this week, which could possibly move Sandy closer to New England. It has also brought chilly temperatures throughout the Midwest. Snow was falling in California as well as Oregon, and this precipitation will continue on to the weekend. Temperatures are expected to be 5 to 20 degrees below average for the rest of the week. As for the Midwest, showers and thunderstorms will be moving over North Dakota and Minnesota. Some of these could be severe, which would bring hail as well as gusty winds to the region. That's your weekly forecast. Back to you, Meredith.
They knew it, but according to officials, they didn't do anything. On Monday, congressional investigators claimed both state and U.S. officials had knowledge of issues with a Framingham pharmacy linked to the recent fungal meningitis outbreak. After receiving complaints about a staple drug created at the New England Compounding Center, a formal investigation was launched, yielding an FDA warning indicating the potential of harmful side effects of consumers of NECC products. So far, 14,000 people have been exposed and 23 have died from related infections. The number of homeless people is on the rise in New York City. EIV reporter Kristen Tate looks at what New York is doing to help those with nowhere to go.
Kristen Tate here reporting from New York. Now, homelessness is becoming a huge problem here. At last count, 46,000 people sought shelter every night here in New York. That's the highest number on record. The city is home to a disproportionate 14% of America's homeless population. Now, New York is one of the few cities that is required to give shelter to all those who seek it. And in response to this crisis, Mayor Bloomberg has opened 10 new homeless shelters around the city, even in some upper-class neighborhoods. The new shelter in the Upper West Side has particularly caused quite a bit of controversy. Some Upper West Side locals complain that since the new shelter has opened, the area has been noisier at night and scattered with litter. Another concern is the fact that the shelter is right across the street from an elementary school. But until New York's homelessness rate starts to go down, the controversy will likely stay at the doorstep of traditionally wealthy neighborhoods. Now, I did speak with a staff member at one of the new shelters. Although she didn't want to appear on camera, she stressed that New York homeless shelters are doing everything in their power to successfully help New Yorkers back on their feet. For EIV News at 6, I'm Kristen Tate.
On Monday, 23-year-old Brian Jones was sentenced in court for his involvement in the hazing of Florida A&M student Robert Champion. Jones is the first of 12 students to be sentenced in connection to the death of Champion, the drum major who was beaten to death on a team field trip bus ride. Jones and the other teammates maintain that Champion consented to participating in the hazing rituals. Jones faced up to 5 years in prison for a third-degree felony, but he received no jail time because the judge felt he had a limited involvement in the actual beating. He will have to complete 200 hours of community service and will undergo 6 months of community supervision. Well, it's the start of the World Series, and Charlie's got you covered. Let's send it to sports. Charlie?
Good evening. There's a lot going on in sports this week. In baseball, after the Detroit Tigers finished the Yankees in a sweep, the San Francisco Giants crushed the St. Louis Cardinals 9-0 on Monday night. The Tigers and Giants will square off in the World Series on Wednesday night. It was also announced over the weekend that John Farrell, formerly of the Toronto Blue Jays, has agreed to a contract to become the new manager of the Boston Red Sox. Moving to the NFL, the Patriots and Jets squared off this weekend at Gillette Stadium. Let's get to the highlights. After leading 16-10 at halftime, the Jets caught up in the third, narrowing the lead to 16-13, but Steven Gostowski kicked a field goal late to send it to overtime. Mark Sanchez fumbled, recovered by Rob Ninkovich, ending the game. Patriots escape with a victory, 29-26. Mark Sanchez clearly upset on that final play with his pass protection. Rex Ryan and Bill Belichick exchanging pleasantries after the game. Tom Brady and Mark Sanchez exercising their fellow handsomeness with each other in the AFC. The Houston Texans embarrassed the Baltimore Ravens at home, and on Monday Night Football, the Bears knocked off the Detroit Lions in a low-scoring nail-biter, 13-7. Lance Armstrong has been stripped of his 7 Tour de France titles. The International Cycling Union announced on Monday that it would not appeal the U.S. anti-doping agency's decision to bar Armstrong for life from the Olympics after doping allegations were confirmed. That's it for sports. Now back to Meredith at the desk.
Faneuil Hall Marketplace is starting a new tradition. This past weekend was the first annual Street Theater Festival. News at 6 reporter Erin Farley has the story.
I bet when you woke up today, this is the last thing you thought you'd see.
Faneuil Hall Marketplace is no longer just somewhere to shop. This past weekend, the first annual Street Theater Festival took over the sidewalks of the popular spot in Boston. Performers wowed the crowds by showing off their unbelievable talent. Al Miller started the festival off with his unique show.
I juggle a chainsaw, I fit my body through a squash racket, I balance on a big pole and juggle knives, and I tell lots of jokes.
Miller feels this new tradition at Faneuil Hall Marketplace could be beneficial for Boston.
Some of the street theatre festivals I've been at all over the world are some of the highlights of my career. And if this turns into something like that, then that's really an important thing for Boston.
Another performer of the day, Jim, who only goes by one name, remembers how he got started doing what he does best.
Started out as a hobby, just sort of did this all through college, just for fun. Then when I got to Boston, I saw street performers and thought I could do that.
After doing this for 20 years, Jim still enjoys the magic he sees happen in each one of his shows.
The sort of magic of entertaining people who didn't really know they were going to be entertained. Just people walking by, they see something crazy and stop, and then they enjoy the show.
There's no other job like this. I do what I was born to.
From juggling a chainsaw to balancing on a cylinder, these street performers spent this beautiful day in Boston entertaining the crowds with their incredible talent. For EIV News, I'm Erin Farley.
Thanks for tuning in to EIV News at 6. I'm Meredith Berry. Have a great night.
This has been a presentation of EIV News and Emerson Independent Video. For more, visit us online at EIVnews.com.